It is officially senior week here for a good friend of this podcast, Connor Pay. He did walk last year because he thought he may be leaving the BYU football program, but we were lucky to get him back for another year. What does he make of this matchup against Houston? And more importantly, what does he make of BYU's odds to still make the Big 12 title game? We're delving into all of it ahead on Locked On Cougars.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. And as always, thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel right now. New customers bet a $5 bet. You get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if your first $5 bet hits. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, time to bring in BYU team captain and good friend of this here podcast, Connor Pay. And Connor, you walked last year on senior day because you thought, that might be your final time playing for the BYU football program. As I mentioned in the open, we're lucky to have had you back for another season. So how do you think your emotions will compare from last year's senior day to this year's?
I think it'll probably be less emotional at the beginning just because I've been through it before. I know what to expect. But, I think it'll be pretty emotional after the game, knowing that really is the last time I'm going to walk off that field in a uniform. So, I think I'll be well prepared for the emotions, just having gone through it before. But, that realization of that really being the last time I walk off as a player, I'm sure that'll be pretty emotional.
Okay, you talk about emotions, and you spoke to the media earlier this week on Monday during the weekly press conference deal, and there was some audio leaked of a certain halftime conversation that you said after you heard it a second time, you wanted to go run through a wall again. Now, I understand that there's been a look into it by the Big 12 and all this stuff to determine what all went down, but give me your mindset, that emotion, because trust me, the questions that have come in from our Locked On Cougars insider group, Connor, I'm going to tell you half of them. Essentially, you're asking the question, why was BYU so flat in the first half, and why did it take a pretty incredible speech, profane as it might be, from Tyler Batty at halftime to get the team going? So take that any which way you want to go, but fire away.
Yeah, I think, obviously we've thought a lot about that because kind of like I mentioned last week, I felt like our practices were really solid. Mm-hmm. I think, just in reflecting more on it, I mean, I don't know if there's a perfect answer. I'm sure there was a lot of variables, because we had some miscommunications and things in that first half that, didn't have anything to do with execution that screwed us up. Then there were some plays where it was just poor execution, missed assignments. And so there was a little bit of a mix there in that first half. And I think we are physically prepared, but now looking back, in the moment, it's hard to feel it, but I don't know if we were, in the right mental space. I think, we were going into that game like this is a must win. So this is to punch our ticket to the game. And when you start to think like that, you start to press almost a little too hard. And I think that's kind of what we were doing on offense. We were trying to press so hard, to be perfect and not just go out there and just play. That's because that pressing can almost lead to more mistakes. It's counterintuitive. And I don't know if that's the primary reason. That's just something I've been thinking about, as I reflected on it so we can remedy that for the future. And and the hard part too is that we only got 3 possessions in the first half. And so, they were kind of dominating the time of possession. And so, we had to take advantage of those drives if we wanted to, keep things going, and we just didn't in that first half. And then I think in the second half, obviously we made some good adjustments too, but I think we kind of snapped out of that in the second half and was like, look, you know what? The result doesn't freaking matter. Like, just go play. Mm-hmm. Go play. Right? Stop worrying so much about doing everything perfectly and trying to win this game. How about you just focus on, destroying the guy in front of you, right? Just worry about that, nothing else. And then I think, I think we settled into the game, and obviously the second half was much better for us on offense. But, I'm sure there's other reasons too, but that's just, as I've thought about it, I think that's one of the things that, I think might have played a role in that.
Now, with regards to the speech, I just want, for point of clarification, was that Tyler Batty speaking to the defense, or was he speaking to the team as a whole?
To the team.
Okay, so he got up in front of everybody, and that was okay. Now, the other thing about this is you talked about it on Monday. You're like, you know what? It's kind of rude, I guess is probably the wrong term, but it's somebody's recording a private conversation amongst the team. Does that do anything in your mind to maybe cause a guy like Tyler potentially, or yourself, or anybody else maybe from the team, to be a little more circumspect with maybe what they say in the future, because it may be recorded and disseminated online anonymously?
No.
Okay.
No, I think because I think we learned that that's illegal in the state of Arizona, and so I don't know. Apparently, the conference and the university are handling that. So, I think that employee is probably going to lose his job, right? And I don't know. I don't know if there'll be a settlement with the university or something. I'm not sure how all that works, but I know they're looking into it, and simply because there's a reasonable expectation of privacy in a locker room,
Mm-hmm.
and we fully understand that we are in the public eye. When we're at a game, when we're in the hotel, and we're traveling, but the locker room is one of the few places where we expect it to be private.
Yeah.
And so to have a security guard who is supposed to be there and being paid by ASU to keep us safe, to be the one to kind of, do that was just, it was a little strange, and I first saw it. Somebody sent it to me on TikTok the next day or something like that. And, honestly, none of us cared that much because while that was a very impassioned speech, and then a lot of language and stuff, it's not too far off the mark of other, passionate speeches that you have in the locker room, and especially in those emotional moments when you feel like you're not performing the way you should. And, so it wasn't necessarily something that's out of the ordinary for a moment like that. It was almost just kind of weird that like the guy had the thought to do that. That was more the feeling for us. It was like, why would he do that? I think maybe he just heard the language, was like, oh, I can post this about BYU because it's a gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's like, like, yes, like obviously we're striving to live a different way than everybody else lives, but nobody's perfect, especially when emotions are that high, and so I don't know. I don't think it quite had the effect he was hoping because people kind of rallied around it, it sounds like, on social media, and we're pretty excited about it, which is so I don't know if that was what he was going for, and kind of a weird thing to lose your job over. But at the end of the day, it's it's whatever. It happened. I don't think it's going to change one thing about how we approach the locker room. We have bigger fish to fry than who might have their phone out at the time.
I can wholeheartedly believe that. All right, I got a couple more questions. Obviously, it was a chaotic scene down there in Tempe, and I got one particular question I want to ask. A couple of people have questions about that. We'll get into that. We also got to talk more about Senior Day, Houston, and the chances you guys still punching your ticket to Arlington to play in that Big 12 title game. We'll get to all that as we continue on right here momentarily on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is here for you guys to have some fun this NFL season. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, as they are America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, it's Turkey Day coming up here. So if you're going to be watching those games, the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL all in one place. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets if you win. It's as simple as that. The best part is when you're in the middle of a game and you want to place one of those bets, you can see the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started once again with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. As simple as that. That's FanDuel.com to get started today with this incredible offer. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. Jake Hatch here, joined as always for his weekly visit on the podcast by BYU team captain Connor Pay. And Connor, I know that the record for BYU is to have the University of Utah storm the field 3 times against the Cougars. There's actually some conversation. Have you ever seen a team? I heard it from one of the commentators. You ever seen a team storm the field twice? I'm like, yeah, BYU knows all about that. Utah did it 3 times against them in 2014, but that's beside the point.
I didn't even know that.
Oh, you didn't know that part of it? Okay, yeah. Well,
no, I didn't know that.
BYU still lost that game somehow, and it baffles me the fact that they had 3 field rushes. And by the way, one of the penalties that almost saved BYU in that game came because of the crowd, and that's why I think some BYU fans out there, when ASU fans rushed that field and Kalani Sitake and others were holding up the one finger. I don't know if you were doing the same thing. Look at there was 1 second remaining. How crazy of a scene was that, and just the ensuing fracas, for lack of a better term?
I mean, obviously it was crazy, but at the same time, they thought they'd won a really big game, right? And so you can't be mad at them, for rushing the field. The only thing that was kind of annoying was like once the refs had reviewed it and said there was officially 1 second, they just wouldn't move.
Yeah.
And so that was more the annoying part. Like none of us were mad that they were storming the field. That happens. That's people get excited about college football. Like we would want our fans to storm the field like that if we won a big game, and so you can't be mad at that aspect. It was more like, okay, guys, like we have 1 play. Can you please just get off the field? Like, why does this have to take 15 minutes for you to walk 50 yards?
Yeah.
To the other side of the field. And obviously they were all drunk. None of them knew what was actually going on. And so, I mean, that you got to take that into account, I guess. But it was more so just like, all right, like we need to run 1 more play. Can you please just get off the field so we can run this play? And then, whatever happens after that, you guys can do your thing.
Now, when you have a Hail Mary type of a play like that, when you see a guy like Jake uncork that pass, what goes through your mind? Are you like just praying that somebody comes down with it? What is your mindset in one of those moments?
Make sure my guy doesn't hit Jake.
Okay. Well, okay. That's number 1. But once that ball's actually in the air, what's the mindset?
It's kind of just like any other play. You hope for a completion and get ready for the next one. Like I remember just seeing the ball come out and I saw Chase get leverage on the guy, and I was like, okay, we have a chance. I didn't exactly know where he was on the field, and I saw that he caught it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And when I saw that he was just a couple yards short, it was kind of like, just like, man. But more in that moment, it's like you're not mad that you lost the game. You're mad at why you lost the game.
Sure.
And why you were in that position in the first place. So it was kind of just like, all right, man, like I'm gonna say good game to the front 7 I just played against, and Leaf, their center, who's a buddy, and just get me out of there.
Well, and then when they rushed the field again, there were some students and fans that made a beeline for your guys' sideline, and there's been some pretty clear evidence of some, let's say, physical interaction. There was, you can watch on the broadcast tape of certain fans pushing and shoving members of the BYU staff and the program. What was that all like?
I mean, for me, it wasn't that bad because if they run into me, they were on the ground.
Well, yeah, they're not running into you, but I'm just saying, like, as that unfolds there.
I mean, it's just, it's just chaos all around you. And so I was just trying to look around, pick out the guys from the defense, just make sure I go show them that my respect for them and how they played during the game. And so that's what I was kind of just looking around. People were bouncing off me, and I was just kind of looking around, looking for their numbers. And and honestly, once the fans saw like me dap up one of their players and just be like, hey man, like you played a good game, then they were all of a sudden they were like chill, like, hey, 70, you did a good job, man. Like it was like they were only there. I mean, all the craziness is pretty fake, like once you show respect, 90% of the time they showed respect back, and then obviously there's those people who took it a little too far, and I walked past a few times where guys were just getting body slammed by the police, and I was like, geez, what did this guy do? And it's like, man, how many beers deep is he? It's like, man, glad I don't drink, and it's like, I'm drunk, me could probably do some damage. And so like, Like, man, thank heaven for the gospel and for the word of wisdom, so I never have to look like that idiot. And but no, it was more just I wanted to see those guys. Um, and once they saw that I was showing respect to their team, they were honestly respectful of me. And no one, I mean, obviously there were a lot of cameras in my face and stuff like that, but outside of that, nobody did anything too crazy to me.
Well, you're a 6'5", 310-pound like Leviathan. Most of those kids are half your size. They're gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm not going after that guy. Where's a wide receiver?" Like that's more what they're looking.
Even then, you never know too. Like,
Well,
you look
okay,
at Darius, 6'2", 210 is a lot bigger than some of the normal human beings in this world.
I'm okay. Here's the thing. I have mad respect for you guys as athletes, and I can assure you, if let's just say one of you, and I'm talking just generally across college football, if one player were to turn on the average fan, it would not even be a contest. So that in and of itself is one thing, but they don't call it liquid courage for nothing. Let's just put it that way. So that's the one thing with that. Now, obviously, attention now turns to this week, Connor, because by virtue of Colorado also losing last week, you guys still control part of your fate here with regards to the Big 12 title game. Now, that entails you guys having to beat Houston this week. We also have to monitor the Arizona State game and Kansas State, Iowa State. So give me a sense. Saturday, are you going to be glued to a TV watching those results kind of roll in as you guys get ready for your game late that night?
I mean, yeah, I'll probably watch, right? Because in a sense, you got to kind of watching what your opportunities might be, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything about the game we have to play. And so definitely not going to look too far ahead and I think that's going to have to be one of the things for the mental toughness of the team this week is you're going to have to watch your fate unfold kind of the 6 hours before the game, and then you're still going to have to go attack that game the same way regardless of the result. I think that's going to be the test for us this week. And I think it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about just having that mental fortitude to not be focused on the results and to be focused on the process. Like, whatever happens, like, screw it, go play balls to the wall. Like, don't hold anything back. You don't have a reason to. And so I think just staying in that mindset and playing free, that's when we've played our best this year.
All right, I've got a question here from Brady. Can you ask Connor if he's been in contact with any of the Arizona or Kansas State players trying to hype them up and tell them, hey, can you help us out here?
No, I haven't.
I didn't think you would have done that, but that's one of the other things. And the other thing about this, Jeff also asked this: if you were to make the Big 12 championship, would Connor rather rematch against ASU, or does he want some other opponent in said game?
I mean, it doesn't really do me much to worry about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, I'll take any chance to get to that game, of course. And I would be fired up to play. Whoever. I would love to get another crack at ASU. Like however the chips fall. Obviously, on a personal competitive level, I'd love to have another crack at ASU. Considering I just didn't feel like we obviously didn't play the way we knew we could play, and it'd be a good chance to to kind of show those guys how we play. And but again, it's, I mean, any chance we can get to play in that game, we're not going to complain no matter what.
You just want to get there.
Yeah, of course.
Because the honest fact is you guys could be in the stadium, let's say Saturday night. Arizona State could have already beaten Arizona, and you could see a score of Iowa State handling Kansas State, and it could already be taken out of your hands. And that's right. The part I think to stomach on that. And that, I guess that in and of itself is something that you have to factor in, I guess, into all this conversation.
Sure.
All right. We got more questions from our listeners, some of them non-football related because it's Thanksgiving, it's Turkey Day.
Yeah.
We'll get a couple of those things. Also, some other football related ones. We'll get to those momentarily right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. If you've not signed up today or ever, really, sign up for the Locked On Cougars Insider Group now and be a part of it. Get all the inside scoop on all things BYU that I've got for you guys. Coming to your phone in the form of a text message. You get a 14-day free trial to see if it's the right option for you. So join us today. Click the link in the show notes below and join up and we'll have some fun along the way with some of your fellow Cougar fans. All right, final stanza here with myself, Jake Hatch, and Connor Pay. And Connor, obviously, it's a big week here as you guys play under the lights at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Give me a sense, and I've got like 3 or 4 different people who've asked this question. Can Connor comment just on the overall, the senior class? And you guys have all come from different backgrounds. All of you have had different routes during your collegiate career. You're a guy who's a COVID senior. That type, like, everybody has a different story, but I guess the overall question is, what do you think the legacy of this senior class is going to be in BYU football history?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one and, a historical one, to be honest, in the sense that, we were the class, or we were the leaders that carried the team into the Big 12, and a lot of the captains from last year and the leadership council are the same this year as they were last year. And so obviously that's going to be a big part of our legacy is entering Big 12 play. And then I would hope that our legacy would be one of strength and resiliency, to be able to come back from adversity, and I think, to be able to come back from a 5-7 season to now be sitting here at 9-2 in a position to have a chance to compete for the conference championship, and to be just a few plays away of already have clinched our spot in that championship game, I think is just a testament to the resiliency of the team and to how we attacked the offseason in the face of that adversity when no one thought we were capable of anything. And, that starts from Kalani at the top, and then it comes down through the leadership council and through the veterans, the seniors. And so that's what I would hope that we could be, remembered as, because, everyone faces adversity in life. And I know this is a game, and, this adversity is not going to be, it's going to pale in comparison to some adversities people are going to have to face in their lives with their family members, but just learning how to respond to adversity, because everyone has adversity. That's a part of life. The people who separate themselves are the ones who respond in a positive way to adversity and find a way to get through it. And, I think that's a lesson that this team has learned this year. And hopefully that's a lesson that we as leaders could have passed down to the younger guys, because they're going to, obviously, when you play in a conference, there's adversity all the time in some way. And so being able to respond to that adversity and attack the process of improvement is going to be how, the team can be successful in the future. And I hope we've been able to instill that in the younger players on the team, and I hope that can be a part of our legacy.
All right. So you talk about like adversity and obviously responding to adverse situations. There's a question here from Ryan. He asked this, what does the coaching staff and team need to either discuss or have they discussed about starting games better and obviously playing a full 60 minutes versus a good half like they did against Arizona State? Because that's obviously an adverse situation where you have a slow start and have to finish the second half the way you did.
Yeah, I feel like I answered that kind of already with what I talked about at the beginning, just the shift in mentality where it's, you can't press to be perfect just because there's a lot on the line. You have to play the game the same way that you've played the entire season. We've been successful because nobody thought we could do anything, and everybody played free because of that. And they just attacked. And, that's what we have to do this week. And we definitely have discussed that as a team, and we're trying to bring that into our practice settings and everywhere else too.
Okay, this comes from Tyson. Connor, which fans were worse, Utah or ASU?
I don't know.
Okay.
In the sense that one game I played in, one game I didn't. So my perspective was a little different. But also we didn't interact with the students at the
Sure.
University of Utah very much because they're kind of tucked away, far away from our sideline. There was no field rush, and so I guess I have a much more intimate relationship with the ASU students, I guess is a way to describe that.
That's a good.
Um,
That's a good point.
so I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I think as a player on the field, you don't really get a good feel
Mhm.
for that. I think it's interactions in the stands from fans that kind of determine that because honestly, every away game is the same for us. You're gonna get booed, you're gonna get heckled, people are gonna say crazy stuff. Like it's all the same, and so yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to pick between the two. I mean, it was a hostile road environment like any other hostile road environment. I don't think there was anything special about it.
All right, Scott asked this: does Connor believe that going with more tempo could be a key to a fast start for BYU this week?
Yeah, I think tempo changes could definitely be something that we could do, and because I think it did make it easier to get into a flow in the second half a little bit going that fast. But I think also it kind of forced you to be in that mentality of not overthinking things too much and just line up and play. Got the next play, line up and play, line up and play.
Mhm.
And so I think you have to have a good balance though, because I think if you go fast all the time, it can end up backfiring on you, and if you go slow all the time, it can end up backfiring on us. So who knows? We'll see what A-Rod's got dialed up for us this week, and I'm sure there's going to be a mix.
Well, and that's the thing about it. I'll just insert watching the ASU game back. You guys kind of went back to more the mold of what you guys had with Jaron Hall under center, where you'd hit it on a big play and you guys got right up to the line. And we're talking not even in the second half. We're talking in the first half. I saw this is get up right up to the line, get a play call, and go right after it. It's the switching up of the tempo. I think that's what screws up the defense more than anything else is the fact that you may go fast on one play and then slow it back down. And the defense is having to react to that. I think that's actually a really, really smart play on my side of things. I'll if you want to weigh in on that, feel free.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. Now, so we'll finish off here with two non-football questions. So I want us to, do you want, okay, question for you. Do you want one about BYU or do you want the one about Thanksgiving?
Yeah, let's do BYU since we've been talking about it, and then we can finish with Thanksgiving.
Okay, so Marvin asked this. I would like to know what are one or two of Connor's favorite moments from his time at BYU. They don't even have to be football related.
One or two of my favorite moments. I think I would definitely have to put the end of the first time we beat Utah
Okay.
on there because I was a redshirt freshman. That was my second start of my career, and that was the first time I had experienced a big win at the college level.
Okay.
Like to have fans storm the field, all that. So that's the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. And so that will always be a special moment. Just that whole last drive will be a special moment just because they were one of the better run defenses in the country. Everyone in the stadium knew we were going to run the ball 3 times.
Mhm.
And if we got a first down, we'd win the game. And they just put it on the backs of the O-line and the tight ends, and we were able to get the job done. And get it when Tyler got that first down and we kind of all looked at each other and realized that we had just won. Like that's a moment I'll never forget.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind. So,
all right. Well, there you go. I think that's one. I think a lot of Cougar fans, cause trust me, when you got Utah fans saying, "Hey, 10 is coming," at that streak, I don't think you're alone in that being a real highlight of your career. Now, the Thanksgiving related one comes from Riker here. He says, "What is Connor's all-star lineup for Thanksgiving, and what's going on his first plate of the day?"
ooh, see, I'll be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Thanksgiving dinner in and of itself.
Okay.
As in the sense that like turkey isn't my favorite type of meat, and it's like I think stuffing sucks. And just like, it's stuff like that. And so I definitely am going to be loading up with mashed potatoes.
Okay.
I love good homemade mashed potatoes, mac and cheese,
Okay.
any type of rolls they got, any type of dinner rolls. I'm basically just anything that's got carbs, apparently.
I was going to say carbs, more carbs. Let's go.
Yeah. Hopefully we have some type of side of red meat.
Okay.
I'll definitely be partaking in that. And I'll eat turkey too, obviously. It's just not my favorite, if that makes sense. It's like,
well, I'll just
am I
say,
gonna would I rather eat a ribeye or would I eat a freaking turkey? Like, I'm going to eat a ribeye 10 times out of 10, you know?
well, at the Hatch household, here's the thing. My wife and I's philosophy, we like our ham hot and our turkey cold. So Thanksgiving for us, we'd rather have like a ham or, like you said, a ribeye or some red meat versus turkey. So that's continue. Sorry.
No, I agree. I hope my family, I'll have to text my mom because I think we're hosting this year for all the cousins. So my mom's in charge, but there better be some red meat on that table somewhere. So
give me a tomahawk steak while you're at it. Okay.
Exactly.
So, okay. So a lot of carbs. Are you a salad guy at all? Like a veggies Oh, I've talked about this. I will retract the statement. I forgot about this. You and Al.
Look at me. You honestly think I'm a salad person?
You and Al Michaels are like supposed to be best friends. I don't know if you've heard that story about Al Michaels, the commentator. He claims he's never willingly eaten a vegetable in the 70 whatever years he's been on this planet.
I don't know if I have either, but especially salad.
Okay.
Like, I understand the health benefits of like broccoli and asparagus and things like that, but salad, like leaves that somebody put in a bowl and put dressing on, and all of a sudden it's supposed to be good. Like, if I want a leaf, I'll go outside and pull one off a tree. I don't understand.
It's not a maple. Come on now.
I don't understand. And so, yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get how that would be beneficial to me at all.
You're not quite 30, Connor. I'll just wait till you get into your fourth decade of life like me, and all of a sudden salads become part of the thing you kind of have to eat because
never.
Okay, good for you.
I'd rather have obesity.
Trust me, I eat salads, and there's still plenty of obesity around this.
See? So what's the freaking point?
I don't know. I'm getting
makes you feel better.
Sure, it makes me. That's probably the perfect. It makes me feel better. That's
how everybody feels. Like, oh man, I'm so healthy because I'm eating a salad. It's like, dude, you haven't, just because you're eating salad doesn't mean you exercise.
Well,
right, or do any of that stuff. You know how many fat people I know who eat salad?
Well, and think about the dressing and everything that goes on.
Yeah, I look at like half my family, and they're like, "Oh, give me a salad," and I'm like, "You're still 300 pounds." You know, and it's like, so I don't know. I'll do the carnivore diet before I eat salad.
All right. Well, we all know the Pay family. You guys grow them large. Let's just put it that way. Look at your dad. Look at your brothers. Y'all are huge individuals, and I think BYU fans and Cougar Nation are very thankful for the Pace family contribution to.
And salad was not a part of that.
There you go.
Vegetables, yes. Okay. Salad, no.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, Connor, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Obviously, enjoy the preparations for Houston this week. And hopefully we're reconvening next week and talking about you guys going to Arlington. How about that?
Hope so.
All right. Connor, thank you as always, my man. And we will talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
All right. That's Connor Pay. I'm Jake Hatch. As always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. And as always, thank you for being everydayers with us on the podcast. And we will catch you guys again tomorrow right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.